The April meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission is called to order. For the record, Chair Deaver is absent. As such, we will need to select a chair pro tem for this meeting.
I will nominate Commissioner Gregorian.
I will second that.
Chair pro tem.
I object.
Do we need a roll call? Okay, now that I'm given the very difficult task of chairing this commission, I welcome the community and all the people in the audience here today for the regular monthly meeting of Arts and Culture Commission, April 18th, 2013. If I may have a roll call, please.
Commissioners Derovanessian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Kavanian?
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Gregorian.
I'm here.
The agenda for the April 18th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on April 12th, 2013.
Okay, great. Next item, please.
Item 2, at 2A, approval of meeting minutes from March 21st, 2013.
I will move approval of the minutes.
And I second.
Okay, any corrections, any comments? Okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Commissioners Derovanessian?
Yes.
Lee?
I abstain.
Kavanian?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Gregorian.
Yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. And the next item, please.
Item 3, at 3A, Library Arts and Culture Events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Pro Tem Gregorian.
You have to remind me that all the time, huh?
Commissioners and city staff. You may know that this is, we're right in the middle of National Library Week. April 14th through 20, libraries around the United States celebrate the successes and the achievements and kind of the connection to the communities out there. For us, one of our favorite things to do is have a fine-free week. We've done that last few years. I heard good stories of parents coming in with their kids with a lot of just found books, and they were pleasantly surprised to know that they didn't have to pay any fines that week. So that'll continue until the 20th, which is Saturday. We have a number of other events, special events this week. Amy Willens will be at the Central Library tonight. She has spent 25 some years in Haiti, and she's a columnist, a reporter. She teaches down at UC Irvine now. She's got her newest book, Farewell Fred Voodoo. Tomorrow, Friday evening at 7 o'clock, Central Library Auditorium, we have a documentary film screening, The Son of the Olive Merchant. Matthew Zaitanjoglu is the filmmaker. He and his wife went to Turkey and talked to present-day residents of Turkey about the genocide. It's very interesting film, I think. Saturday, the 20th, Armin Anasassian and Mark Robson, two of the finest musicians out there, LA Philharmonic, LA Opera, they get around. They're going to perform, we went over this last month, the Violin Sonata by Richard Strauss, among other things. Also on Saturday, more music down at the Library Connection at Adams Square, the little branch down there on Chevy and Adams. Clark Magnet High School Music Club will be there, including this young man, Alfred Molina. He's going to sing some of his own original music. So I told you about Fine Free Week. Get those books in. Can't get them in on time, just get them in this week and we'll take them. In May, we're starting off real strong. The Friends of the Library, with a lot of help from the Chevy Chase volunteers, a really active group in the Chevy Chase Canyon, are putting on a cookbook sale, used cookbook sale, plus a recipe share. And they're actually, they want books, so they can sell them that day. That's May 4th. But they also want your recipes, and they'd like you to show up with some samples of those recipes so that you can share them with the rest of the community that day. The Friends of the Library members get in at 11 a.m. You can get a membership then. Everybody else gets in at noon. So the food may be gone by noon, if that's the case. Also on Saturday, May 4th, music. Stories and Songs of Woody Guthrie. We have Jerry and Debbie Bergen. You may know a song from the 60s by a group called the We Five. You were on my mind. I'd sing it for you, but what would be the point? They're going to be at the library, and they've got a great presentation on Woody Guthrie. Here's something we don't usually get to do. We're having a book launch party at the Central Library. The young man there is Jake Tastian. He and his mother write a series of books, My Life as something or another, but he does the cartoons in there. That's her teenage son. Their newest book is My Life as a Cartoonist. So they will both be at the Central Library in the Children's Room on Wednesday, May 8th in the afternoon. We're going to be signing books. There'll be a big hoop to do. And we are doing that in conjunction with Once Upon a Time Bookstore up in Montrose. I should also mention we have a number of book clubs, book groups at the library, and one we're sort of helping continue as a Spanish language book group, and that's at our Central Library also in May. Of course, we got our loading dock book sale on the 11th of May with the Friends of the Library. The LA Opera will come back. I believe this is the last of their series of talks. They're going to do a little talk on Puccini's Tosca. The middle of the month, the 15th of May, we have two sort of events at the same time. We've got the Friends of the Library's annual meeting. They will introduce you to their newest slate of board members. We've got some new people coming in. That's at 6:30 at the Central Library. Right after that, at 7 o'clock, Mark Garagos and Pat Harris, two very prominent attorneys, locally, worldwide even, will be at the Central Library at 7 o'clock to talk about their new book, Mistrial. Yeah, there they are. Finally, May is when we begin our summer reading program, not just for children, but also for teens and adults. This year's theme is Reading is So Delicious. So I hope, eat, read, come to the library. We'll have something for adults as well as kids.
Any questions from Mr. White?
No, just a comment that the meeting that you guys had with the community to share about all the renovations, that was fantastic. It was a crowd and community welcomed the idea, and they were very kind of eager into sharing their thoughts and concerns, which was wonderful.
Yes, they were. Yeah, I was glad to see you there. Yeah, Cindy's not here today, but she will give you
a report later.
A report and some more pictures and things like that this time. All right.
Any other questions? Mr. Work, do you have a question? I'm sorry. Mr. Work, I have a question. With all these presentations that you make here, it's really good, and you also followed up our request with the printed edition, which is really very helpful. I really thank you for that. My question is this document that you give us, I know that it's a public document, so it should be available, but is it accessible to our viewers in case they want to see, in case they missed this meeting and they missed all this and they don't have to go? How do they obtain this?
You can look at our website. Often our events are right up there before they come out in any kind of paper edition. We'll put them on the website or the Facebook. This particular batch, and just because of the timing of this meeting, I usually take the information I'm giving to the city manager's office for City Connection. So you're getting it 2 weeks ahead of everybody else. So when City Connection comes out, this May information will also be in there.
That's wonderful, because I just wanted to make sure that our viewers do understand that in case they miss any part of this meeting, they can still get all this information about all these great programs that we have on our website or somehow. And that's basically why I'm asking you this. And one last question. I understand that we have a huge email list of our supporters, people, whoever is interested. Is it possible to maybe shoot this as an email to this list, or is that a lot of work? How does that work?
Yeah, it is possible. It goes out various ways. Certainly, they'll all get it, with City Connections, we'll sort of share that information. But we do get it out to that list. Maybe not all as a group. Right around the beginning of the month, we do a paper events, and I usually let people know that's available so they can look at that and read it. They get the information, definitely.
Yeah, because, I think it's a pity that we put all these great programs together, and we work very hard to get all these wonderful speakers and incredible, programs, and then the community might not be as informed as we hope them to be. Sure. And sometimes attendance might be a little problem, and I have always been wondering if this is because they don't know or they are too busy with other things, and
It could be a variety of things, but we certainly make an effort to shoot the information out. The city manager's office helps with Twitter. They send that information out regularly, so you can
The whole
sign
thing?
up. Event by event, and usually the day of.
No, I mean, all the information that is here is being
Yes.
sent. Okay.
Yeah, eventually. Some of these items are also on GTV6. They make little ads for us that will play throughout the day. So we
But
make
it's
an
nice
effort.
to have all in one place, though.
It is nice. Yeah.
So,
I like it.
So if I suppose the request with my colleague and myself is, and I think everybody else would agree on this day, is that if we have this accessible and available and as a public document, it will be a good idea to also, if it is not very time consuming, to send it to our email list also, just monthly or bi-monthly or whatever it is. Every time that we have this here, that would be a good idea. I mean, anyway, but. I'll just leave the staff to decide how they want to do it.
I think we are doing it just via our email list at the Library Arts and Culture Department. So we are via the online newsletter that we have.
It goes on the newsletter?
Yes.
All
yes,
of it?
Yes, everything that's sent out through the library newsletter, but also in individual emails. And as Chuck mentioned, it's included in Library Connection as well as the city's main social media platforms.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure we all understand and we all agree. The main reason and the main object is, and the main objective is actually to have this accessible and to as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. I mean, yesterday there was an incredibly nice program at the Central Library, the Sushi Art Project. The artists were there and they discussed everything. It was really good. And I really hope that the attendance would have been bigger than what it was. It wasn't a bad attendance, but it could have been better. And that's basically what my concern is. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyway, I really thank you for putting all these things together and presenting it here.
I did want to mention, Commissioner De Hovhannissian asked about a program we had, and we all sort of scratched our head. We realized it wasn't one of our programs. It was a rental program. The one you asked about was the 3D storytelling. Elizabeth Gregorian attended that event, said it didn't have a large audience. Again, it wasn't something we would promote with our materials. It wasn't our event. But she said good turnout, but really interesting kind of three-dimensional structures and landscape design and storytelling.
Very good. It's always, people who are not actually working in the city government, they don't know how much work is being done by all the different staff members here. It's always like, what are they doing there? This kind of, I'm not joking. It's just always people have this because they only see people who give permits and etc. with construction and etc. The rest is not kind of known to the public. And when this kind of work is being done, or presentations and all the activities that you schedule for the community, it is phenomenal. It's good that community would know, would be more understanding of all the hard work that is put together by our wonderful staff. You come and present, but all the rest also within your department, they do a lot of work to get any such event into its existence. So we really appreciate it, but we want the community to know and appreciate you guys as well.
Very good. We have 130 some staff members. They work really hard. All I do is talk about what they have put together, weeks, months in preparation. So thank you very much.
Right.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Weck. Next item, are we going to have it done or?
Item 3B, Central Library renovation will be presented in May as Cindy Cleary is not present.
Okay, so there is nobody to substitute for her to make the presentation, right?
No, Ms. Clear wanted to make the presentation too, so she will do it at next month.
Good.
Okay,
meeting.
that's fine. So if we could please remember to re-agendize this for next month. So item number 3B is postponed, rescheduled for our May meeting. And the next item, please.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The commission may refer the matter to city staff for investigation and report.
Okay, great. I have 4 cards in here. All of them are good friends that we know. So I start with inviting Ms. Kim Koga from the Museum of Neon Arts.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to be here. We just had a really interesting coincidence happen. I was going to come and ask you today if, as you know, the Museum of Neon Arts is going to be moving to Glendale, but we're not here yet. The building hasn't broken ground yet. But we would like to have some type of visual presence in town. Before they were working on the building and investigating all that, we had signs just in the front window portion on Brand Boulevard, and that had such a great effect. I mean, so many people saw that. They saw where we were going to be. They saw where the building was going to be renovated. Of course, since they're working on the building, we don't have access to that space anymore. So I have already spoken with Annette about this too, and other city staff people, of finding either a city building or a vacant building or a private building where we could put perhaps 1 or 2 signs. I mean, I even looked down here in the lobby would be perfect. But on the way to the meeting, through GAA, I met Michael Sheehan, who had done a 4th of July event in a vacant gas station in Adams. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it at all, so I'm going to go check it out after the meeting. But that would be perfect for one of our signs. And we have a sign that came from the city of Glendale. It's called La Fonda, and it's 2 Spanish dancers. And we think, though I haven't done the full research on it, but we think the sign may have represented old Verdugo days at one time. So it has a real kind of interesting historical connection to the city. And prior to us being here, it would be really great if we could have access to that gas station for the sign.
Question, is it a neon sign or is, okay,
Yes,
that
it's a
would be
neon sign.
phenomenal in that area.
So we're ready to bring it over. And I
Actually,
yeah, I was just going to request, investigating a space for this, but this just happened on the way to the meeting, so I think the location would be perfect. I'm going to check it out today, but I think it'll be fine. So if I need to do any next steps, just let me know.
any comments from my colleagues?
No, it's just if, it's 4 sides glass. It's a kind of, so it would be very interesting if you have the neon lighting, kind of whatever there.
And since it is a parks facility, I will check in with the staff there after you meet, but let me know after you look at the site. If it is a proper venue, then we can follow up with the parks staff to make sure we can get it installed in that space. If not, I will continue to identify spaces at City Hall for you, and then we can find a home for you guys.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. Actually, our friend Mr. Xian comes up with quite interesting ideas, and this is one of them. And but as Ms. Vartanian said, it is at different departments, so we'll take care of you as much as we can. But I think it's a very good idea. All right. And the next card I have is Mr. Jim Gibbons. For record, if you could please, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is Jim Gibbons. I've lived in the city of Glendale for about 45 years. I can't believe I'm that old, but it's been a long time. So I still care a lot about the city of Glendale and about the quality of life here. I'm here today to thank you for supporting the arts, and in particular, the GATE project. GATE stands for the Glendale Temporary Glendale area temporary exhibitions, and it's a project between the City of Glendale and the local property owners, and it features artists, emerging artists, as well as established artists. I was aware that this topic may come up in the future for one of your meetings, but I may not be here, so I thought I'd come today to speak to you at Oral Communications. I'm a member of the Glendale Woodturning Guild. We were selected to be a participant at a gate project last year. Glendale Woodturning Guild is an educational group of about 180 members. We support the community in a lot of different ways. We do charitable contributions to churches and schools and other groups that have charitable auctions. We also have woodturning demonstrations to teach people about woodturning as an art. It used to be a craft where you made bowls and table legs, and now it has evolved into an art form. We've also given thousands of pins, wood-turned pins like this one, to the military servicemen and women overseas. Our gate exhibit was called Recycling Trees, and some of you may have been there. It was up by California Pizza Kitchen in some vacant space up there. It featured the work of 14 of our wood-turning artists, and we had 67 wood-turned objects in the gallery. It was open 7 weeks during the holiday season last year. And during that time, we had about 500 visitors that came into the gallery, not counting the thousands who walked by our window display who were on their way to California Pizza Kitchen. We tried to nab as many of them as we could, but we got about 500 in there. I was one of the volunteer artists who staffed the gallery, and one of the overwhelming responses that people made on the way in was, "Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. Is all this made out of wood? How did you do this?" And it was great because the artists who created the pieces were there to be able to talk to the people and answer questions and tell them more about the art of wood turning. So what I want to talk to you about today is 2 points, really. The first one is that I was the organizer for Glendale Woodturning Guild that put this together with the city, and I worked with Annette and the members of Praxis, which is the group that organized the gate project. It was terrific because overnight they turned a vacant property into it was an old sushi bar, and they turned it into a wood-turning art gallery, practically overnight. The most important thing I'd like to leave you with is that this was a win-win-win situation. It was a win for the Glendale Woodturning Group because we were able to display our wood turnings in a venue that was very attractive, and our members were able to promote the Glendale Woodturning Guild to people who were interested in wood turning. It was a win for the property owners because instead of having an eyesore of a vacant property, they were able to have a site of an attractive gallery. And it was a win for the city of Glendale because it raised the city's awareness of arts and culture. So it shows that the city is more than just streets and buildings. It's a city that cares about the quality of life. So in closing, I'd just like to say that the city spends money in a lot of different ways to make this an attractive community. And I think that from experience I had with the GATE project, that's a great way to do it. So I just encourage you all to continue to support the GATE projects. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from? No? Okay. All right,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming and showing your support.
Yes, and as you know, we did approve quite a considerable amount of funds for the GATE project for the next couple of years. So we hope that this will continue and hopefully in a much more better and more productive way. So you will hear from us, definitely. Thank you. The next card, I am going to give the floor to our friend Joy Foyer. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Foyer.
Foyer. Okay.
Sometimes it's fever, and that's kind of exciting when people get that wrong, but Joy Fever, that would be a good name.
It could have been Feller, too.
Anyway, it's good to see everybody today. Good afternoon. My name is Joy Foyer. I'm a resident of Glendale, longtime resident, and also the founder of Art from the Ashes. And I'm here today to tell you about a very fun event that we have planned for next week in Glendale. Art from the Ashes is hosting a fundraiser called Comida y Arte, and it is going to be at the Wine Vault, which is formerly Palette Food and Wine on Brand. And in looking at we wanted to host various fundraisers throughout the year to support our 2013 platform. We're a cause-based organization, and I like to try to have as much of that happen here in Glendale and bring people to Glendale. So this is happening next week. We have an opening reception on April 25th. That has a $20 suggested donation. We'll have beverages and bites by Cordero Negro, and over 60 works of art by local artists, including a fair amount from Glendale area, too. You can click to the... And please visit our site, which is, if you have not been on it, artfromtheashes.org. You can see a whole slideshow of the works of art. It's really, really going to be a fun time. We're remaining on for 3 days, so the event will take place the 25th to the 27th. 25th opening reception, 26th and 27th there'll be a Cordero Negro pop-up restaurant, paella party, as we like to call it.
Wow.
So please make your reservations. That is all accessible online as well. And it's just going to be a really, really good time, good energy. We got a nice profile piece in the LA Times online yesterday, which was great profile for the event and for Glendale. And we just hope to see all of you there supporting and much of the community. So let's have some fun together. Thank
All right,
you.
great. Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Foyer? Foyer. No?
No, it's just, again, I like when community participates, comes, makes the announcements, makes the invitations, because we are representing you, but you guys need to be here as well.
The personal touch.
Yes, the personal touch, it does it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the last card I have is Mr. Dick Humboldt.
Our longtime friend.
And
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair Pro Tem Gregorian.
thank you.
I should have said that first. I'm sorry. I'm Dick Humboldt, President of Glendale Art Association. Just a couple quick things. We have an exhibition right now in the La Cañada Library on Oakwood Street. It'll end Saturday. Then after that, we have a show in the Ann Show Gallery here in Glendale called Glendale Real and Imagined. So there'll be representative art of Glendale persons, places, and things, and there'll be abstract or fantasy art, whatever you do with it. So we plan a nice reception there and a string quartet and good food, and I'll bring you invitations when they're printed and distribute them to you. A couple other things, real briefly. As you know from my last appearances, I'm interested in the art community forming in some way to support the Art and Cultural Commission. Looking at the work plan, there's lots of work to be done. And in last meeting's debate, there were questions whether it could all be done. And there were other proponents of doing it faster. From our point of view, we'd like the Arts and Culture Commission to succeed in what it's up to. And we would like to offer what our organization can in a way of our capabilities and talents to Annette, who's doing most of the work, and anybody else involved. There are a couple of thoughts we had. One is we're very interested in the Civic Auditorium being equipped for art exhibits. And if we can help out, for example, presenting layout drawings of an exhibition area and how the space can be utilized, we can do that. We have an architect or two in our organization and would be glad to do that sort of thing. Another area we thought of in looking at the agenda for today, where you have requests for a proposal and grant processes under consideration, and you had samples in there from Pasadena and West Hollywood. We have some people who are familiar with RFPs, for example, and proposals, and are willing to help that initiative, either by reviewing what you do or providing inputs or simply meeting with you and talking about it. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Since we have a volunteer to do a lot of work,
So,
do we want to?
Thank you,
Do
Mr. Humboldt.
we want to put everything on their shoulders?
Thank you, thank you.
Actually, I'd like to make a comment.
Okay.
Mr. Humboldt, thank you for mentioning one of my biggest issues that I had last time, which was the time issue, that Glendale is not going to turn into a city of of art overnight. This is not the Cinderella story here, but of course a lot of work to be done, as you said. What I was a big proponent of, and I said this during our retreat and everything, that we need to create some kind of stakeholder group in Glendale, where artists are going to basically do their own thing and then come to the city, and it's kind of switched at the moment, where artists think of some brilliant idea and then come to the city, and then the city doesn't have the opportunities to open doors for them. So I would love to see a stakeholder group in Glendale with artists and different art organizations being a part of that. And that's where the change is going to come. The change always comes from the people. Whatever the people of Glendale decide to do, that's the way Glendale's going to go. And actually, here's another thing too. If all the artists in Glendale group together, they now become, let's not forget, they are voters. So they get to say what happens in Glendale. And let's not forget that.
I'm in 100% agreement with you. I'd like to see a group like that, and we'd stand ready to participate.
And actually, what I'm trying to suggest is that you kind of take hold and run with it. Because again, see, it comes down to, I agree, you agree, great, let's have fun. But unfortunately, from the city perspective, we can only do so much. We can facilitate later on that process, but that first initial spark has to come from the community. As simple as that. And maybe actually, because I'm no longer going to be sitting up here, maybe I can work with you on that privately and see what happens.
I would look forward to it. In fact, I've been chatting with some of my colleagues in the art community, and we're of a like mind in that respect.
Any other questions for Mr. Humboldt?
Thank you.
Actually, I also agree with your comments, and all the jokes aside, I don't want to scare you with putting everything on your organization's shoulders, but I think it is important that we all cooperate, and I really appreciate you volunteering yourself and your organization for this. And I have always been, as you know, a big advocate of Friends of Arts and Culture and all that. And maybe this is the time to ask our attorney what the mechanisms of forming a group like the Friends of the Arts and Culture, maybe for us to cooperate more. And if you don't even have to answer now, but maybe we can ask the staff to, do a research and come back with that idea. But so.
I'd be happy to advise the gentleman, and after the meeting or at some other point, how the community can get together and do it. If the commission were somehow involved, it gets a little bit thornier, because whether you call it a citizen advisory committee or a subcommittee, the issues of the Brown Act and other more formalities arise. But if it's done through a community representative on their own, and for example they report to you regularly during public comments, during oral communications, that's a good way of advising you, of giving you information on what's going on in the community, and also giving your feedback to them.
Yeah. You see, the whole point is, now we are at a juncture that it seems that the arts and culture activities and the commission and the budget and everything are going to really take off. We have worked very hard for years to get to this. And obviously, we all want to see this program and plan to succeed and move forward. And I think we really need to find all kinds of ways, including, committees, commissions, groups, whoever, friends, whoever, to make this happen. So I really would like to see us to try to come up with some kind of a structure where we will be within our, legal boundaries, like the Brown Act and etc., but also be able to move forward and have the community participation, have the artists participation in the community, and as my colleague says, the stakeholders' participation, so that, I think now that we are on this juncture of taking off, we'll take it off very smoothly and achieve really high heights, high attitudes. That's the main thing. So is there any way that we can somehow do some kind of a research on this and come back with some kind of a report or suggestion?
Sure. As Mr. Grant mentioned, I will work with him and we can get some information of what options there are for creating such a group.
Excellent. All right. I think we are all looking forward to this, right?
I just want to clarify my comments. I don't want to start a discussion, and I'll be very careful in choosing my words so that Mr. Grant does not give me the eye. What I was trying to say is that it's not about really friends of organization, and I'm going to kind of disagree with my colleague in that sense. This is all about the community. There are way more community members than there are people on a commission, than there are city staff. And if all the people if all the artists in Glendale can somehow work together, they don't need the city, really. And then the city's going to say, hey, I want to get in on that. And then they'll go through all the legal stuff, and all that stuff will be so smooth and easy. So it really lies on the community itself to start something, to really put their foot down and say, we want arts to be in the foreground. From the city side, we can provide grants, we can provide different opportunities here and there, but the community really has to step it up and say, we want to take hold of our city, and we want to put arts in front of everything else.
Okay. And that's what happened, for example, with the Glendale Parks Foundation. There were many members of the community who were interested in, supporting the Parks Department, and they were able to form a nonprofit. In that case, that's one type of organization, and they give some terrific support to the city's Community Services and Parks Department.
Okay, great. So there are all kinds of mechanisms to achieve our, common goal. That's great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, if this kind of discussion, idea is presented and there's discussion, it could be done according to the brownout. It could be done on the dais, but not via email, or it cannot be done even on the dais.
I'm not quite understanding.
Commissioner Kevanyan said that I don't want to open a discussion not to go against the brownout. So since,
during
and what we do is we will bring back to you through the staff report of different ways how the community get involved and interact with the commission, and it would be an agendized item.
But even here,
it would be a report, or it would be also for discussion as well.
On the dais while we are on camera.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything, Commissioner Kevanyan?
Oh no, it was just during oral communications. I just want to make sure that I'm not talking about something.
So we close this item and move on the next one, please.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, information item, report on issuing grants and requests for proposals.
Okay, I think Ms. Vartanian has some reports to make.
Yes, I do. This is, I think the last several months, I think every meeting I've been putting forward several items that you really need to discuss, think about, and make a decision. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a break, and so I'm going to do most of the talking today just to kind of give you some information and background on issuing grants and RFPs or RFQs, since that is a tool that you identified that you wanted to use in dispersing the urban art funds. So if you recall, back in September of 2012, I provided an update on essentially a best practices survey. The Commission wanted to know what are some of the other communities doing. So I gave you a report of the type of programs these other communities operate, the arts and culture budget, how much money they have within their program, and the type of public art that's funded. You use this information to go into your retreat to help develop your arts and cultural plan, as well as the work plan that you approved last month. The last item is how funds are dispersed. You know how much money, you know what the program's going to look like, you know what your budget is, you know what type of art you want to fund, but how do we pay for this, and how do we disperse that money? So the most common forms are through grants and requests for qualifications or proposals. Sometimes, you can do a direct contract or a limited bid. This is, for example, the Michael Kalish artwork installation. You don't necessarily need to offer a grant or a request if we're, accepting an item. So we do a direct contract with somebody that can do the work for us. Or, for example, should we, everything work out and we have to do some upgrades or infrastructure upgrades for purposes of art, you could do a limited bid for a project like that. But most frequently, cities and communities use grants and requests for qualifications and proposals for dispersing the funds. So essentially, a grant is, most of us know, it's a non-repayable fund that's dispersed to fund a specific program or a project. With grants come a lot of requirements. Usually is for a specific program purpose or a focus area. And they generally require a match from participating organizations. It could be a one-to-one match, and that could be either in lieu or in-kind services or actual money. The example from West Hollywood, they require a one-to-one match from the participating artist or the organization. They also require evaluation metrics. So, when issuing the grant, identifying, this is what we expect out of the program. And then at the end of the operating year, the organization or the artist is required to actually give information back to the grantor, just so we know how was our money spent and did it reach the objectives and the goals that we stated. And this is pretty consistent with every type of grant. Even our CDBG, requires all of these requirements. A recommended process for grants. When we were looking at different communities, we looked at West Hollywood, Santa Monica, Pasadena, even County of LA and Long Beach, use the California Cultural Data Project. There's 36 communities that use this program to be able to disperse funds and to keep track of them. And it essentially streamlines the grant process for both the grant maker and artists and organizations. And what's good is that an artist can prepare one application and submit that to multiple cities, but it also allows our local artists and organizations to compete for more opportunities than just in the city of Glendale. There's 3,600 registered artists and arts organizations in this program. So it essentially puts the people who have the money and the people who need the money together, and it streamlines that process. Now, a little bit about CDP. It was created in 2004. They've just recently transitioned into a 501c3. They were originally part of Pew, and it's managed through a 14-member board. Again, it provides annual reports, provides standardized data, and that's basically what organizations and decision makers like yourselves use to build the case for support. Why we need to support the arts, because it shows the economic impact that arts have in communities, and it also helps with the long-term planning. Again, it's provides a snapshot of what's going on in our community and the positive impacts. Although it comes with a little bit of a cost to the grant maker, it's free for participating artists and organizations, and they also provide free support to the arts and cultural organizations or the applicants. So if somebody needs help actually just going through the application process, they provide that type of support, even to the point of accounting if they need help with some of that. So I contacted all the communities locally that use this. It all came highly recommended, and I know a few organizations in the community and outside of the community use this program, and they said although it is a bit of a learning curve in the first year, but the staff at CDP is very, very helpful and actually helps them maintain the data and ultimately make the case for why funding is needed for the arts, which is why we're all here today. Now for requests for proposals, again, it's, when the city will solicit through a bidding process for a specific project, program, service, or goods, and formally invites proposals. Generally, requirements for RFPs is to identify the project or the program details. We provide a timeline, a budget, the selection criteria we're going to use to select, what the scope of work is, what are the expected outcomes, and also any requirements that we have, which we know we have in terms of city contracts and insurance. So we basically lay out all the information for the artists and the arts organization so they know what they're working with, and then we give them flexibility to come back with a proposal. So we kind of give them all the information ahead of time, as opposed to with a grant, they give us a proposal based on, our focus area. Again, a recommended process for an RFP. You saw the one for Pasadena, and the two for West Hollywood and Pasadena. I mean, it was very, very lengthy, but these are really large programs. I wanted to show you the scale, but also a lot of the details that go into it. But because we have to give that information and kind of disclose all of the information, since we are dispersing public dollars. So for issuing an RFP or an RFQ, we would identify the focus project or program, let's say temporary art or, permanent art. Then you would identify the expected outcome of the project or the program. What are we trying to achieve? Is it, to encourage, people to come out to the downtown, to Adams Square, to Montrose, whatever it may be. And then we develop the evaluation procedures and the criteria. We let people know this is how we're going to evaluate your proposals and make a decision. And then we let them know exactly what the city requirements are. So even before they submit, they know what they're walking into. If it's something that they can't, work with, and they know not to apply, or they'll need to know what the insurance requirements are so that they plan that into their time and their budget when responding to us. So the next steps are, we've, approved our work plan. The next step is to actually kind of work on our implementation schedule with you, since, there were some concerns of how quickly and how much we were going to do in the time period. So in the coming months, I will do that. And then, I'm going to be working with CDP to finalize our grant process to get that up and going, so that when we're ready to start issuing grants, that program will be ready. We will be taking the work plan to the council for their review and approval. We're going to wait for our last council person to be appointed, and then we will do it at that point, and when the budget is presented to the council. And then finally, which I think everyone is excited, is we actually implement the work plan.
So, finally, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
And that's it. As I said, I just wanted to kind of give you a breakdown, give you an information, and so that the community understands how we're going to be looking at this. As mentioned, in the coming months, I'm going to come back to you so that we can start defining what those focus areas are. You said, we want temporary art, we want cultural programming, but now we have to start really thinking about, well, what's that program going to look like, so we can give some direction to our community.
Excellent. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, it's just an information item, so
okay.
nodding your head is good.
I thank you so much. Let's open the floor for questions.
I have a question. How do we do this? Is the community going to give us some kind of is there a research thing, or are they going to share what are the needs of the community as well? Even though we are representing both the council and the community, it's nice to see again, community comes and says, these are the type of things we need to have. These are the special projects. I'm talking about different events or projects or presentations. So there would be kind of an intake from the community. Is that what we're going to do, or that's not part of it?
I believe a lot of that has been done last year when you held the Artist Roundtable, and in the coming months as art groups, such as the Glendale Art Association, who's come and said, these are our needs. We've been, keeping track of all of that. You've identified the larger goals, a lot of the strategies that you're looking to accomplish. So at this point, it's really looking at what the goals and the objectives and the strategies are that you put into your arts and cultural plan, and how does that get implemented. So, based on what the feedback we've heard from the community, based on some of the programs and projects, you remember the DOT exercise, you identify the types of projects that you wanted to see, that you heard from community members. So then, again, it's me, merging those two lists and coming back with options. If you want to do cultural programming, these are a variety of ways of reaching that goal, and then, merging your list along with what the community wants.
Our part, whatever we have identified, is clear. The part that the community got together, we can start with that, but at the given time, I don't think that community was well aware of all the possible grants, all the possible money coming to the Art and Culture Commission. We were not in the way, we're not as established as we are right now. So we can start with whatever we have, but I suppose in the future we need to have some more of those community forums, so that now that we are more structured, they would know how they could fit in and they could propose and have their ideas expressed.
And part of that communication will actually occur when you, issue a request for applications for grants or for proposals. So you can say, we want temporary art in Montrose. You can say, this is our focus area. We want it to happen in the fall. I'm just throwing out an idea. So the arts organizations or the artists that really, that's something that they want, then they're going to come and share their specific proposal with you of what, they'd like to see in the community. So again, it's that interaction rather than having an open forum and one by one people come and say, well, this is what I need, is you're providing them a little bit of the structure, but they come back with what they want to see in the community and their proposal and what their art organization, or if they're an individual artist, what they can provide within that element. Does that make sense?
Yes, Ms. Vartanian, I'm very glad because I can see that you have already formulated and you have already kind of captured exactly how things are going to happen, and for the future steps also you have kind of a better picture of how this is going to happen. I'm very glad to see that. Thank you.
And of course, some of it would be, we can do our part, our share, and try to communicate and spread the word as much as we can, but also the organizations and the members of the community also have to do their part and participate and look for this information. This has to be a two-way street. And I know that we are doing our best, and I know Annette and Yvonne and everybody else on the staff are doing their best, but, again, I think this since this is in the formation stage, it will evolve into something which is quite practical. So that's the way I look at it.
And I hope once we have our website complete, that's going to be a one-stop resource for artists to know exactly what opportunities there are. That's usually, a lot of people look there, but there's a lot of other opportunities for us to promote and advertise opportunities. So, I'm very anxious to have that website completed so artists know that they can go there and get the information both on upcoming events, but also opportunities in which they can participate.
I think that's great, and I think that sharing those information with the, what was it, CDP or?
Yes, CDP.
Yeah, that was just, I think it's a great idea, and I think we should spread the word among our artists immensely, because that will help them a lot, not only in Glendale but in all the other areas. And that's one of our purposes. Anyway, any other comments from my colleagues?
I think that and this forum or this meetings that we have once a month is also a good opportunity for the community and artists to come and share their thoughts and ideas the same way as it has been done by some of our friends. We would like to see more of them because, as Commissioner Kevanyan said, they are stakeholders as much as we are, or even more. So by their participation, they can show their support and their needs and demands.
Any other comments? No. Okay, so what's the next step, Ms. Vartanian, on this?
Well, that's it. We just move to the next item on the agenda.
No. I'm not talking about the next step of this meeting. I'm talking about the next step of this report.
Oh, this is just the information. The next step will be to come back to the commission with your implementation schedule for the work plan. So that, depending on timing, we might... depending on when it gets approved by the work plan gets approved by the council, we can't really come up with an implementation schedule until it's formally adopted. So, as soon as it's adopted, I'll come back with an implementation schedule, and then we can move to the next step.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Let's go on the next item. I think we are moving really fast today. We might finish much earlier than usual. It's very unusual, but we'll do that.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Well, I would like, today we were supposed to have some guests here, but it seems they couldn't make it. There's going to be a very interesting movie coming to Glendale, and the viewing, the thing is going to be, this film is going to be screened at the Americana. It is a kind of a comedy movie, which has a lot of cultural flavor and taste, and our council and Aram Najarian had invited them to come and discuss about it. We want to make more commotion by having lots of good things happening in downtown Glendale, and lots of community from outside also joining us for major presentation. This movie is going to be called Lost and Found in Armenia. It is something like The Greek Wedding, if you guys have seen the movie. It is kind of, it has that flavor of cultural flavor in it, and very funny. And Jamie Kennedy and Angela Sarafian and Mikhail Ogasyan and Hrant Tokhakyan. And very cute. Even they were supposed to send you some of the things. It's a carton, it's lost and found, and it says it's a milk carton, and the thing says, "Have you seen me?" It's an adult who has been lost in Armenia, I suppose. But it's a beautiful. We saw parts of it yesterday at the meeting. So that's number one. There's another event coming up. There's a comedy night. It says "Laugh for a Cause." And major comedians are going to be there, like Maz Jobrani, who is on HBO. And the proceeds of this event goes to the Glendale Adventist Cancer Center for the kids. So that's going to be on May 5th. You can purchase the tickets at Alex Theater or at the information desk of Americana. It's good to support good causes, and meanwhile to have a reason to be able to enjoy and laugh and all that. There's another major event coming up next week on April 24th. You know that our city government is commemorating the April 24th genocide event of the Armenians. And it's going to be a fantastic program and presentation. And also on Monday, the 22nd, there is going to be Man's in Humanity to Man this year. The topic has been dedicated and devoted to the Korean cause, which the women who have suffered through the women's trafficking and all the horrible, atrocious events that happens by other people to, now sometimes to a nation, sometimes to a culture, sometimes to a gender. It's a fantastic event, and it's going to be at the police department. What do we call that?
The community room?
The community room. So we would like our community to come and participate in that event as well. So these are some of the things that I could remember. Oh, and there's another one, which is going to be Status of Women has their award event, which is going to be on May 9th, if I'm not wrong, on Thursday at the Oakmont Country Club. Also a wonderful event. It's nice to participate. And Brand Library has a special event on May 11th at the Tea House. So we'll discuss that as we get closer to that event, but there are so many wonderful things are happening in our city, culturally embedded and kind of welcoming people within our community. So far.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Kevanian.
I wanted to mention very quickly that Lark Musical Society has a concert tomorrow night at I believe the time is 7:30. This is kind of going off top of my head because I'm planning to be there. It's called Rite of Passage. They're going to be featuring music of Stravinsky and Ian Krauss, who actually is I believe he's the director of the music department at UCLA. And it's going to be at the Presbyterian Church on Louise, in between Broadway and Wilson. Memory serves me correct. What is that?
I believe so. Yes,
I think so.
Between Broadway and Harvard.
Broadway and Harvard. Yeah, Broadway and Harvard. Thank you.
On Louise.
On Louise, right? Correct. That's tomorrow night, so make sure you're there.
It's on Wilson and Louise.
Broadway and Harvard. Between Broadway and Harvard.
Right.
Corner of Harvard and Louise.
Gotcha.
Thank you for the clarification.
Anyway, thanks for the confusion. So we will clarify this. Commissioner Lee?
Wanted to congratulate our new city council and to our new mayor, Dave Weaver. Thank you for stepping up to help our community and our city. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Vartanian?
I wanted to make an announcement about Diamond Awards event. Invite everyone in our community to come to the awards reception, which is being held on Monday, April 29th at 6 p.m. at the Central Library Auditorium. Again, it is a free event. We will be having an award ceremony, but there will be food included as well. And so we just want to invite everyone in the community that wants to come and recognize the 6 honorees. If there are questions, they can contact our office to RSVP, or if not, then they can just show up on the 29th at 6 p.m.
I would like to say also, those who are very curious about our Commissioner Kevanyan's talents, he is going to be conducting and
I'm going to be playing.
He is going to play at that event, so
yes,
you can enjoy him there.
If there's a lot of talk about Commissioner Kevanyan is a pianist and so forth, so you can actually see how well or not well I play that night, but it will be well prepared. So.
Actually, I've seen you play, and although I'm not a critic or an expert, but I think you play pretty good. So it's just, I invite everybody to be the judge of your expertise. But anyway, having said that, I'm glad that you mentioned the Diamond Awards. Let me just add to the Diamond Awards and the Genocide Commemoration event that they are both free to the free of charge. Open to the community, and but I know that for the April 24th Genocide Commemoration evening, the tickets are limited, the seats are going very fast, and I think they allocate just about 4 tickets per person. So I invite the community to be proactive, book your tickets very quickly, and that's a very, very good evening that everybody is going to enjoy and learn and experience the commemoration. And also, don't forget, in addition to LARC, tomorrow, Mr. Wyke introduced another very nice film, which is called Son of the Olive Merchant at the Glendale Central Library. And also, since this is very close, I'm repeating it, the Associates of Brand Library Music Series has this incredible violin and piano recital by Armen Anasian and Mark Robson on April 20th. So in the next few days, and a few weeks, our community is very active in arts and culture scene, and I want it to be like this, and hopefully the community will participate and encourage so that we will organize a lot more of this. And of course, you can get to our website and inquire, and then there is this Glendale Arts Association's website, then there is Glendale Arts website. So there are a lot of good events happening if somebody is interested. And that will conclude my comments, but my colleague has another one.
I was just reminded, as Commissioner Lee welcomed the new mayor of Glendale, Mr. Weaver, I would like to send off my dear friend, the former mayor, Frank Quintero, who we all know had a nice little retirement reception. I don't know if you can really call it retirement because it's not like like a job per se, like not in my mind anyway. But of course, they all take their work very seriously on City Council. And again, congratulations to the newly elected City Council people. And again, to Frank, thank you for trusting me with this. It was very funny how I ended up on this commission. My father knew Frank very well, and I just happened to be at an event. I can't remember exactly when. I was probably 16 or 17 years old, and he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "there's an opening on the Arts and Culture Commission. You want to serve?" And I said, and it was kind of a loss of words. He said, "Come on, man." He goes, "You can do it." I said, so Frank kind of coached me through my beginnings on the commission, but dear friend of mine, and I consider him a friend, even though he's closer to my father's age than mine, of course. But great person, always supported arts, and he was probably my biggest proponent. I think every time that the Arts and Culture Commission had a presentation at City Council, I think he mentioned my name. So he was a big fan of mine. So thanks again, Frank. Thank you for your services, both as a City Council member and as mayor.
And meanwhile, I would like to congratulate all the council members who have been elected. They have done a fantastic job, but I do remember Frank coming and telling me that, you know, I've got a nice young man who is going to be the student representative for the council. You all will be very proud of him, and it's true, and you stepped into those shoes that he presented you as, and we are very glad that we have worked all these years together. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you, Frank, for appointing him.
Okay, I won't repeat what my colleague said. It's all true. And there is a very good chance that either next month or the following month, the composition of this commission might change because with Mr. Quintero not continuing, and actually he might even be nominated, elected, selected to continue for a 1-year interim period because of Mr. Manoukian's resignation. So we don't know yet. It will be up to the council to decide. There was a talk about that in the city and in the papers today. But whatever it was, our friend has said that he may not want to continue. So the composition will change. And actually, Mr. Manoukian, who appointed me, has also been is going to resign. Has resigned already, and so I don't know if I will be reappointed or not. But whatever it is, the Arts and Culture Commission will go strong, and I'm sure whether our friend Mr. Kevanian or myself are in this commission or not, we will be advocates of arts and culture, and we will be following up, and we will do our best, either from this end of the dice or the other end of the dice, which to improve whatever we have. So. Again, we don't know what the composition will be. I think it will be either May or June meeting rather, but a new composition and a new arts and culture will hopefully take this arts and culture to new heights.
Commissioner Gregorian, I've always said that regardless of you're on this side of the dais or the other, you are considered the godfather of the Art and Culture Commission. You have been here the longest for so many years, and you have done an excellent job, especially as a chair. He loves that chairship, and he does a great job as a chair. So even today we had to force him to get there, but nonetheless, you have been an asset for the Art and Culture Commission with your participation in most of the art events in the community. I need to really praise you for that, because he makes the time. We catch, whenever we can, but he really makes a major effort in going to all of those events. So you're always the Friends of Art and Culture Commission, regardless of being a commissioner or not. So thank you for all your good work.
Thank you. You are just reading my, not being here anymore, right?
No,
is that what it is?
I'm just, today,
I
just said we don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be here or not. It's just, the fact is that it's always nice to say the right things about people who have served. Now, if you're here, you'll continue and we'll fight over things together. That would be if I'm here and you're here. If not, nonetheless, it's good to know that you have done a wonderful job.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I thank you, and thank you for all these comments, but I think we ended this section. Let's move on to the next one, please.
Item 7, written communications.
There was an email that was sent to me for the commission. It was printed and provided to all the commissioners for your consideration, and it's also going to be entered into the public record.
Yeah, I was going to suggest.
It's a letter from Serpui Abadjan.
Yeah, dated April 17th. Okay, yes. So for the record, we have this email, and we acknowledge it, and it will be on the public records. And next item, please.
Item 8, adjournment.
Okay, earlier than usual, we adjourned this meeting. Thank you for participation, and don't forget all these programs that we have, and also our next month's meeting, which is third Thursday of every month at 2 p.m. Thank you. Adjourned.